The following is a short excerpt from my course From Scene to Screen, the HDR Image Pipeline, which you can find at MasterHDRVideo.com. This video is mastered in HDR, and for the best experience, you should watch it in HDR on a television or device with HDR support. What should you look for when choosing your own HDR display? At the simplest level, any display can be an HDR display if it's capable of accurately reproducing more than 10 steps of dynamic range, or has a single-frame static contrast ratio greater than 1,000:1, and the display understands at least one of the HDR transfer functions. In practice, what that means is you're looking for an LCD screen that uses a zone array backlight instead of an edge-lit or uniform backlit setup, an LMCL LCD screen that uses two LCDs sandwiched together to achieve a higher dynamic range, or an OLED screen. At some point, I'll have a series of videos available that explain the differences between the different kinds of displays. But for now, those are the technologies you'll want to look for in a professional display or television to act as your HDR reference display. Beyond simply looking at the amount of dynamic range a display has, there are a couple of other things you'll want to look for in an HDR display. First, you'll want a display that uses at least a 10-bit panel driver. That means that the physical screen can generate very high-quality gradients, so you won't get banding on your HDR image. While you can adapt older 8-bit or 8+2-bit panels to work in HDR, you will see some banding in your fine gradients. Second, you'll want a display that covers as much of the P3 and Rec 2020 color gamut as possible. We haven't talked much about the color component of HDR at this point, but nearly every HDR delivery format uses P3 or Rec 2020 color primaries, meaning that you'll have access to purer colors when working in HDR, and you'll want a display that can accurately show these colors. Third, you'll want a display with at least 600 nits peak brightness. That said, the Small HD OLED 22 that I grade on only has a peak brightness slightly over 325 nits once I calibrated it, but it excels in color accuracy and image reproduction, and when paired with an OLED television, I have no problem clearly seeing the detail retained up to 1,000 nits. The last thing you'll want to look for when considering a display to purchase for HDR is whether or not you can calibrate the display or set it up to be as accurate as possible. Some of the more expensive HDR televisions offer professional-grade calibration and the ability to disable most of the consumer HDR looks that would otherwise be enabled. That brings us to our third need for working in HDR today: changing your color workflow. To get started with the foundations for understanding how HDR works, the basics of shooting for HDR, and for a demonstration of how to grade and master in HDR, head over to MasterHDRVideo.com and take my full course, From Scene to Screen, the HDR Image Pipeline. Go ahead and share this video with your fellow filmmakers to help them get started working in HDR too. And let me know if you have any questions or comments below. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel for more tips, tricks, and tools for working in HDR. And until next time, I'm Sam Bilodeau, and I'll see you soon.